Okay, so Harold Young is with us today. He is the county administrator for Orangeburg County, South Carolina. He is a native of Cordova, South Carolina, and holds a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of South Carolina, Aiken, and a master's degree in business management from Southern Wesleyan University. Mr. Young is the current president of the Lower Savannah Housing Consortia, a member of the National Association of Counties Steering Committee for Community Development, member of the South Carolina Association of Counties Detention Committee, and the representative for South Carolina with the National Association of Counties Economic Development Steering Committee. He is a former member of the American Planning Association. He is the past president of the American Red Cross Greater Edisto chapter, past president of the Claflin University Community Development Corporation, past president of the South Carolina Community Development Association, past region representative for the South Carolina Hazard Mitigation Association. And he's also served on the board as a board member for the Low Income Housing Coalition and is a recipient of the 2007 Innovative Approaches in Community Development Award from the South Carolina Department of Commerce. He was also the 2011 South Carolina Department of Transportation Innovator Award recipient. Prior to working for Orangeburg County, Mr. Young was grants manager and community development program manager for Aiken County and tourism assistant at Lower Savannah Council of Governments. So with that said, and that mouthful of wonderful things you've accomplished, I will hand it over to you for a discussion on zoning.
Had to unmute myself. I apologize. Thank you for reading the bio. That was a mouthful. Forget all of that. I'm a country boy from Cordova, South Carolina, and that's just me. I've done some things, yes, but I'm just me. Um, Welcome to. I mean, glad to be here today, and I understand that your organization would like to have some information about zoning. Is it okay if I share my screen? All right. See if I can make this work. It's saying it's disabled by the participant. You gotta give me rights to share.
I'm
Okay.
going to make you the host for now.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. I promise I'll behave. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. The Orangeburg County uses zoning to pretty much handle how we deal with development and make sure that development is in harmony with the future land uses and protects, health and safety and appearance and prosperity. We use several documents to administer the zoning ordinance, and that's the text and the map. So once we created the ordinance, then we came back and created a map to show people where their areas were zoned at. Benefits of having zoning: it governs the structures that are being built in the lots and how they're divided. It protects the values of other people's property. It makes properties attractive to developers. It helps prevent overcrowding and land limiting by limiting the amount of size and structures on a parcel. It definitely it affects help establishes the height limitations and other restrictions and setbacks. It regulates occupations and things that could be done in the area. It protects residential properties from commercial development, and it also regulates business signs and other things that help pedestrians and motorists be safe, and also keeps your community attractive. When we started out, Orangeburg County has different districts. So our primary districts are, let me go back, residential single family, which is the most restrictive district that we have. Residential single family only allows basically stick built housing. You have residential general that allows for a mixture of regular houses and um, and mobile homes and manufactured homes. Residential office will allow different home-based businesses. Commercial neighborhood will allow a mixture of commercial and neighborhood. Commercial general is just commercial general, basically like your influx of areas that have commercial businesses, like on the 601 corridor where you see all of the restaurants and gas stations and stuff. That's commercial general. Business and industrial is basically like our industrial parks, where you see the Orangeburg County City Industrial Park. Forest and agriculture is a designation that basically deals with the more rural area of the county, and then rural community allows for you to have mobile home parks in that designation, not just in there. Special purpose districts are planned unit developments. Sorry, and flood hazard and airport capability. Airport capability is how we zone and regulate anything that is close to or in proximity of the airport. Flood hazard districts are the ones that we know will flood, and planned use districts are one that are put together that is a combination of like housing, educational, commercial, and that type of things. And those are planned unit developments. And we have one that's actually being built, it's proposed to be built now off of Bruin Parkway. Okay. Listed are the explanations for each district. I pretty much gave you an overview of those. I'm not going to go through each one because I want to save a lot of time for questions. And one thing we want to have to do is look at is the rules and interpretation of the particular boundaries of the units. And when we go back to uh, yes, boundaries, and can y'all still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I'm about to blow it back up. Okay. Basically, the boundaries in the area when you're dealing with zoning, um, we look at all the things that are parallel to what we're dealing with. And then when there's an uncertainty, we also have what you call the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals hear any appeals that come along where a person may have a disagreement or do not agree with what we have for zoning. And I'll go backwards and I'll give you a prime example of it. When you're looking at, say, for instance, a business industrial district, the intent of that district is to accommodate, protect individuals or lots or in business park settings, industrial related to wholesaling, distribution, warehousing, processing, office, administrative use, environmental suited, while prompting land use and capabilities. The district is also intended to protect for future development vacant sites and tracts of industrial potential. So, say for instance, if somebody felt like, okay, I wanted to build a neighborhood in an industrial area, those two things are not compatible. So that's one of the particulars of zoning. It wouldn't be allowed, and you would have to look at that. And so that's the beauty of having a zoning ordinance in place, because prior to having zoning, um, people could have done anything anywhere they wanted to. Now it has to be approved by zoning. And so that's critical because that helps the development. And as we see now, we're in the midst of a change where you see a lot of development going on. I'm sure y'all seen a lot of the warehousing being built on 301 and a lot of the other areas. Are most people in this forum predominantly from Orangeburg, or because I don't want to assume that they're from Orangeburg and they're not, because I'm talking about stuff specific to Orangeburg. Okay,
Yes, we are.
Yes.
okay, thank you. And
Mhm.
so as you see the development happening on 601 and 301, a lot of that is basically dictated by zoning, because those are areas that are zoned for that type development. So you wouldn't want to stick a bunch of commercial stuff in the middle of Empire Estates or one of our housing subdivisions, Edisto Plantation, or any of those, subdivisions up Belleville Road. You wouldn't want to stick commercial stuff in the middle of those. So that's why the designations matter. Now, part of the process is when you start with zoning, zoning is the beginning of all development, because before you build anything or do anything, the first step is to see how it's zoned and where it's zoned at. And so that's the main key. So when you do develop property within Orangeburg County, let always your first step be to contact the zoning office to make sure that you know exactly what your property is zoned for, and that what you're trying to do can be done within that area. That's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of individuals make, especially those individuals who have mobile homes or things of that nature, because mobile homes, now that we have zoning, cannot go in every classification. So if you have a family member that's doing a mobile home or moving a mobile home, the first thing they need to do is check with zoning and make sure they understand exactly what classification they're going to. Mobile home cannot go in business and industrial. It cannot go into certain classifications. It definitely can't go into residential, single family, or commercial general. So you need to know that the property you're buying is zoned for what you're trying to do. And that's one of the most common mistakes we get with people coming into the office and having problems and issues with development, is the fact that they did not check the zoning first as they begin to develop. And so that's something that we want to make sure that we always keep everybody in a good mindset on. And then flexibility is built into the zoning ordinance, because that's why we have things like the general residential district. It's intended to accommodate housing and development that meets the diverse and economic social needs of a diverse population. It's designed to allow for various housing styles and types and densities, whether it's small lots, big lots, or including single family, duplexes, triplexes, condominiums, rental apartments, patio homes, townhouses, or manufactured homes. And this is intended to give the people the opportunity to have a mixed neighborhood where they can have a different set of affordable opportunities within one area. Now, just like we said with the residential single family district, that is the most restrictive district of all the districts that we have within zoning, because you can only have stick built houses in the residential single family area. And that's mostly like your major subdivision. And so the key thing with zoning is the zoning is there to make sure that as a community grows in size and stature, it grows from the standpoint of saying that we will allow certain things, but also make sure that they're compatible. So when you see the growth that's happening on 601 and you see the growth that's happening on 301, you want to make sure that growth is in an area, because not only do you have to worry about growth, traffic comes into play, population comes into play, and density comes into play. Those are all things that we have to deal with when we're dealing with change as far as zoning is concerned. And we are one of the more younger zoned counties, because our zoning did not really start until I think it was 1998 is when we enacted zoning. And so we are fairly new as a county that's been zoned, but it's firm in what we're doing, and it's has helped guide a lot of our programs and projects as we do and as we grow. Because Orangeburg County is in a position right now where it's our time, and as people and who represent people that are going to vote, elections have consequences and elections matter, because the people who are elected guide the theory of how we come up with a lot of these ordinances, just like zoning and other stuff, as well as where things go. And so what we're looking at now is an unprecedented set of growth, because Lexington County, as far as it relates to housing and development, is growing at a pace that they had to put a stop and a moratorium on on housing developments. Charleston County is going at a point where they pretty much the cost of land in Charleston is astronomical, and it's also bled into St. George and other areas. So from both directions, development is coming to us because now they're realizing that Orangeburg County, one of the things that we have going for us, we have 1,100 square miles from tip to tip. It would take you over an hour to get from one end of Orangeburg County to the next. And in that, we have 17 towns with 17 mayors and 17 um, councils. But what we do have is a plethora of rural, untouched land. So there's a lot of land available for development. And that's why you're starting to see a lot of the development that we have now. Now, the good thing when zoning came into play, zoning allowed us to set up that development so we would have corridors for development so it wouldn't affect people's everyday lives. Like where you see the QT Travel Plaza, where you see the other aspects of stuff, you would also see that growth that you're seeing that's coming in the industrial parks is also coming because of the fact that we had it zoned and everything was set up properly. So that's the importance of zoning and how it relates. Those are the districts, and now I will stop and allow you guys to give me questions.
When you're speaking of zoning,
Mhm.
and you were speaking about Lexington with the housing and with
Yes, ma'am.
Charleston also. Well, when you're speaking of zoning here in Orangeburg, are you speaking of businesses that are attempting to come to Orangeburg, or just housing or residential zoning?
Oh no, it's housing and businesses.
Hmm.
We have houses being built in subdivisions in Santee, Holly Hill, and Orangeburg. They're doing them 100 and 200 at a time.
Mm,
There's a
mm,
200 home subdivision being built in Holly Hill,
mm-hmm,
175 one being done in in Santee.
mm-hmm,
Ellery has one that's being finished out. That used to be the old Blackwater subdivision. Is now a new development, and they're going to put 500 houses before
mm-hmm.
it's done. And then the one that is intended for Bruin Parkway is supposed to be 150 houses. All right,
Goodness.
now that's residential. On the corridor for commercial, you have Destination 601, where they
Mm-hmm,
started the first part of that now, where you see there's a Firehouse Subs, a Chinese, I mean a Japanese restaurant and a bank on that three parcel plaza on 601
mm-hmm,
that's coming. You see, we just did the QT Travel Center on 301.
mm-hmm.
Once you cross the bridge, there's a 5,525,000 square foot warehouse being built on
Mm-hmm.
the opposite side of on once you cross the bridge on 301,
Wow.
and Allied Air just completed a 125,000 square foot um, warehouse right in
Goodness.
front of that 500,000 thousand square foot warehouse, which will be the largest in the state of South Carolina that's being built, by the way.
Wow.
There's going to be a 7-Eleven truck stop in front of that. We
Hmm.
just had a ribbon cutting on Monday for the first project within the Dubai World project in Santee that was 125,000 square feet warehouse and trucking facility. So we have
Goodness.
not only commercial, but we have
Mm-hmm.
residential, and the growth is coming.
Wow. Mm, didn't know that.
Mhm.
So when you mentioned something about we should make certain that we contact our official leaders, and in order to do that, we must vote. So what is the purpose of? I missed the part. Is what is the purpose of contacting the leaders to inspire them to do more, or to create the option to become less? I'm trying to figure out the meaning of.
Well, the growth would not happen without the elected officials, because the
I got you.
document you see before you where the zoning is done, that zoning was ultimately voted on by an elected official. So the elected officials actually set the foundation for the growth and the strategy and how you deal with growth throughout your
Got
community.
you.
So That's why it's important to not only vote, but to reach out to your elected officials so that they can basically do things within your purview.
I got you. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
okay, you have a
Yeah, I have a question.
yeah.
My question is, the buildings that you just say on 301 Whitaker Parkway and
Mhm.
everything, how they building up, is that gonna make taxes go up higher for the living on that end, on certain areas?
No, ma'am. It will change the value of the property. So if you were to go buy and sell it, um, the value of it would change, but it would not change your taxation. ma'am.
Okay,
Mhm.
so okay, that you answered that question. So my next question would be, so like Whitaker Parkway, if I got property on Whitaker Parkway,
Mhm.
if the value right now is like 5,000 or so, or 2,000 to 5,000. So if something big come over their houses, my property will go higher because of the area now is building
Yes,
up.
ma'am. If that area was built up, then it would affect your property value. And I'll give you a case in point. Where up 601 back in the day, if you from Orangeburg as long as I am, you remember the only thing that used to be up there was the Exxon and the Waffle House,
Mhm.
and so it wasn't much more up there.
Nope.
Matter of fact, it was houses along there, and so those lots used to sell for $10,000-$15,000. Um, right now, a couple of those businesses that are located on 601, the newer ones,
Mhm.
they had to pay almost close to $1 million for that property
So what,
for several acres of property because of the values that have gone up.
so what I'm asking now, I got another question. So right now will be the best time for people to start buying property
Hmm.
until, because it will be cheaper than, because in the next couple of years, once they start building everything, these properties like it's going to get high. Like I bought one in auction. So if that auction property cost me 400,
Hmm.
$400, so maybe I believe probably the next few years is going to be worth more than that.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Anytime you have property, that's a good investment. It depends on where it's at.
Where is it at?
Because
Yeah.
location is the key, and zoning can help things, but it can't do but so much. And so where it's located at has a difference, has a lot to do with its value and how it works.
Mhm.
My goal is right now for different areas. Um, I just wish that everybody had got together for their property down there, all the way down there on Anna Sprinkle. If everybody would just put in
Hmm.
good people, $1,000 a piece, 10 people, 20 people together, it could have been a nice property for the community wise. But you got people from New York coming down to swipe everything up. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and people,
Well, see, you got to remember at the county auction where they auctioning land,
yep,
those people don't necessarily want the land.
nope,
They're
they don't.
buying that property because the state law makes us pay them interest on the money after so much time when the person doesn't redeem it.
Yep.
So when they go to redeem it, it goes from like 3% to 6% to 10%. And
Mhm.
those rates of interest are higher than what you would get at a bank. So they basically buy it hoping that the people redeem it, and then they will receive interest on their money at a higher rate than they would at a bank. So a lot of these people who buy that property, they don't even want the property. They just want the interest that the person is going to pay to redeem it.
Yeah, that's it.
Mhm.
But well, the best part is the taxes don't go up and
No,
certain,
ma'am. No,
you
ma'am.
know, that's a good
Your
thing.
your value would go up, but if you
Yeah.
didn't do anything to the property by the time it got reappraised, and we only appraise every 5 years.
Mhm.
So if you didn't do anything to to make the property better over the next 5 years,
Mhm.
your appraisal will still be the same. Now your land value portion of your taxes, because you'll have more valuable land, you could see a slight increase in that, but it wouldn't change until like 5 years when we do reassessment.
And another question that just brought to my mind.
One moment, we're about to run out of time in this meeting, so
Mm-mm.
if it kicks you out, you can just open the link again and we'll be back in the same room.
Oh,
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My question is about the zoning part. What if somebody you in a rough neighborhood and somebody bought an abandoned house or whatever, and now they turn it into a church? In a neighborhood where the value or where not the value, but would it be a different guidelines when it's a church?
Well, the
In
one
the
thing
area
about
now?
our zoning ordinance, it allowed for churches to be just about able to go anywhere.
Uh-huh.
But at that same time, once a church is located there, it can restrict some of those other stuff that can be done from a zoning standpoint, because like certain things like a liquor store,
Yeah.
churches in our zoning ordinance, churches can go about anywhere. It won't affect you unless you're doing something that has a provision within the zoning ordinance that churches deal with. So like once where a church is located, you can't have like a liquor store or club within so many feet of a church, or a adult business anywhere in certain proximities of a church. So once a church is placed somewhere, it will affect what can go there after that because of those restrictions.
So what if that the place is already there, like a liquor store is there, or a club is already there, and how
Then
many?
those things are grandfathered in if they were there first.
Okay.
Oh,
But now the grandfather clause is affected once you have a situation where um, if a business or a church, or if a business or a club or a liquor store stops being that for 6 months, for more than 6 months,
Mhm.
it has to reapply for zoning. It would not have the grandfather clause anymore. So
Mm,
at
okay.
that point, they would have to reapply, and then it could be restricted, even though it was there before.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of new stuff being built, but I see so many like rundown old things around Orangeburg. Is there a reason for that? Is that related to zoning or?
No, that's unfortunately, I just got to be real with y'all. You have some people who made investments in properties that they really couldn't afford to fix up, and so
okay.
instead of them fixing them up or selling them, they have these pie in the sky dreams for some big money coming through all of a sudden to take it off their hands. So they're holding on to it, and it's kind of hampering development.
Mm.
So as it relates to a lot of the buildings downtown Orangeburg, the city and the county and some other organizations are actually in the process of buying a lot of that stuff, to get it out of those private hands so that it can be redeveloped, so that stuff just doesn't die out.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, one of the bigger problems that relates to dilapidated housing and stuff in our community, and the way it looks and stuff,
Mhm.
unfortunately, is our generational way of dealing with death. A lot of ways we will have families that will leave like a half an acre to like 7 or 8 or 10 children,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's always one child will probably be the one that's uh, consistent enough in paying the taxes, whatever. And then when it's time to sell, you have to deal with 7 or 8 people to
Mm-hmm.
sell or do
Mm-hmm.
anything. And a lot of times it's been family members in New York or California somewhere that has the ability and the say so. And once they leave, they forget about it. And the
Mm-hmm.
grass is not cut, the buildings go downhill, and it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff that's not done. And we need to break that situation. And then what we got to do is people just got to want to see the community be better and look better, and they just need to start putting some money into some of these things and have it fixed up. But it's sad to say, like I said, some people who own some of the worst buildings in the downtown area are the ones that are most difficult. Even if you try to approach them and buy it, they want like 4 and 5 times as much as it is actually worth.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Thank you.
Well, I think in the sense that you mentioned like the air property situation, when those that are paying the taxes and those that are not paying the taxes, people should work toward changing the laws, because if someone pays taxes for 8, 9 years and the same amount is given to someone that has not paid taxes, that gives me the idea that something is not correct about the law.
Well, unfortunately, the way the law works,
Mm-hmm.
we don't really care who pays the taxes. Who pays the taxes? Who pays the taxes does not give you not one iota of authority to the land that you're paying the taxes for.
Mm-hmm.
You could come pay my taxes and for the rest of my life, and you still wouldn't own my property because it's who is deeded to.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what people have to understand. A lot of our people get into a lot of I paid the taxes on this thing, so that's my property. No, ma'am. If
No.
your name is not on that deed,
Mm-hmm.
and
Nope.
if it's not on that deed that is filed with the clerk of court's office,
Mm-hmm.
you can pay the taxes on it for your whole life and still not own it.
And since you said that, Miss Linda,
Uh-huh.
I had property, when my mama passed, I had property in the country. And everybody
Mhm.
arguing over the property, but nobody paid the taxes. So what I
Mhm.
did was I didn't pay the taxes for 2 years, and I just
Let it go
bought
to
my
tax
property
sale.
back. I brought it back at the auction.
Yeah. And then you
Oh,
own
that's
it
a great
outright.
idea. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
So after 2 years and no one has paid the taxes, it automatically expires and go into the court system or go into the go up for auction after 2 years of unpaid taxes.
It can
Yeah,
go.
but now one thing you have to remember though, we
Mm-hmm.
can't just agree to sell it to an individual just because it's theirs. So when she did that, that was a risk that she took because if somebody came in and outbidded her,
And I beat her.
she
Yeah.
would not
Mm-hmm.
have gotten the property.
I got you. Okay, yeah.
I was just focused on that one property when I went.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But now in that sense though, a lot of times, like I said before, the big people who dole out all the money for them, they don't really want it anyway. So at the end of the
Mhm.
day, it still doesn't matter because you could actually approach those people just because you don't win the sale. A lot of
Mhm.
times you can go back and approach those people and say, look, I saw you bought this at the sale. I just wanted to let you know this was my mom's property and I was really trying to get it to keep it in the family. Can we
Mhm.
strike a deal? And a lot of people have struck deals outside of the auction process.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
And Patricia, you said that you had purchased property just recently at an auction. How do you, these auctions, are they mentioned in the paper, or how
Yes,
do you find
Yes,
them?
ma'am. We have to list the pay. We do the tax sale usually in October, November timeframe or
Mm-hmm.
December, some part of the latter part of the year. But when you start seeing the auction notice in the paper, you'll see that long list of property numbers and people's names of property that is delinquent on the tax.
Got
Once that
you.
once that goes out, then the sale is shortly thereafter.
Got
Now,
you.
let me tell you this, and I know it's getting away from zoning, but it might be some information you want. All right,
Mm-hmm.
for the sale, when you buy something at the sale, it does not become automatically yours. You got to wait 1 year for redemption because the law
Mm-hmm.
states that a person has 1 year to redeem their property before it is actually turned over by deed.
Got you.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
what happens to properties that go to the auction that are not purchased at all? Those properties go into what we call the forfeited land commission bank.
Mm-hmm.
And every so often, we take those properties and we do auctions again we do internet sales for them. First come,
Wow.
first serve.
Wow.
And those deeds, once you pay for them, can be transmitted to you.
Got you.
If you go to the
Got you.
county website right now,
Mm-hmm.
there's a listing of FLC properties that you can bid on that would actually give you title once you bid on.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
you got to have the money up front.
Yeah, well, yes, you got once you put in a bid, if
Yup.
you're the winning bidder, you got so many days to produce the money to the office to get the deed.
Mhm.
Got
Or,
you.
and if you don't, it goes to the next highest bidder.
Got you.
Come on, Ms. Linda, let's make that money.
Honey, this is all new to me because I hear about this, but I've never experienced it. And what Mr. Young was just saying about making these bids and the second person up. How do you know how do they know when you bid, a person stops bidding behind you and then suddenly
The
you're
bids are listed on the site, so you'll see what bids are out there.
Mhm.
got you. Wow. Wow, that's interesting. Well, Patricia, let me know the next time because I would be more than happy to experience it.
It's like gambling.
That's true.
It is.
Absolutely.
It's
But
like
at
Dead
least
money don't win, so go ahead and do it.
Interesting.
I'm sorry for clowning y'all, but I told y'all I'm just me. I'm a down to earth fella. I ain't that serious.
Everything's okay. Everything's great.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Young. My name is Mary Mack II. You actually just answered a part of one of my questions in what you just stated. I represent a nonprofit organization, and we've actually been looking for certain properties that we might acquire and look to fix up or renovate around the city. And in my attempts to try to find out who would we need to talk to as far as what's available, what isn't, and what those dollar figures might look like, that was going to be my question. You answered some of it when you said the county website and looking on that FLC list, but is there another place that we could go to be able to get a list of those properties and what we might be able to work with?
No, that's where it's listed at. And those properties are listed and it'll show you what the minimum bid is for those properties.
Got you.
The average minimum bid is $1,000.
Wow.
American?
Yeah.
Okay. What if I get my aunt to make some red velvet cake?
Not gonna work.
But Patricia, how were you able to get yours for 400?
That's at the
You
tax
bid
sale.
it. It
The
started
tax sale-
at 300.
Yeah, the
she
tax
just
sale
made
is
a
different
bid.
from the forfeited land sale.
Yeah.
The
Oh, I
tax
got you.
sale, all you have to
Yeah.
do is satisfy the taxes to purchase those properties. But you
Oh,
have to wait.
I got you.
But
Mhm.
you have to wait a year to get for the people to redeem it before
Gotcha.
it goes back to you. And it's
It's-
a shame.
It's 2
It
years
is a
now,
shame
right?
that people have lost property for that small amount of money. And
Yeah.
it's a shame that people have lost properties for that small amount of money. But it
Mm.
does happen. And like she said,
Mm.
you have people that only owe $100, $200, dollars worth of taxes and still end up losing the property.
God.
It's fun though. I like it.
Well, text me and let me know the next time because I haven't heard of this here in Orangeburg. I've heard it other places, but I wasn't aware with what was going on here in
In
Orangeburg.
December, I used to do the one in December.
Okay, and it starts in November. No, sorry, October is the first. Oh, it cannot start before October.
Well, no, ma'am.
You-
That's when the first part is listed.
Gotcha.
So when they list the property and see what's for sale,
Mhm.
that's when that part starts.
Gotcha.
Now, the forfeited land list is a list of tax map numbers. So you have to take the tax map number, go through the GIS system, put in the tax map number, and then it'll give you location and all the information on the property.
Mhm. Gotcha.
Is everybody satisfied with the information?
I have one question for Mr. Young.
Mhm.
Are you a part of the League of Women Voters?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
Would you like to join our chapter?
I don't have a problem. I wouldn't have thought I would have been eligible.
I know most people think when it's Women League of Voters, but it's just that's the original name and it's maintained the same. But we would love to
Okay.
have you as a part of our organization.
Yes, ma'am. If you send me the information, I would be glad to join.
So Angelica is the person that would be able to get that out to you.
Okay.
Any of us can. We just need your email address.
Okay. I think I received the whoever sent the information to Jennifer Jump, just send that to her and I will follow up.
Thank
Certainly.
you. Thank
Mhm.
you. We need more participants here in Orangeburg, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? If not, I have another meeting I have to get to, and it's been a pleasure talking with you guys. And let me give you my number to the office is 803.
Wait one sec, wait, no, wait a minute. Okay,
It's
That's it.
okay. The meeting is recorded.
Okay.
Oh, great.
803-533-6101 and ask for Jennifer Jump and she can track me down 24/7.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, thank you for coming. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for sharing the information, and thank
You're
you all
welcome.
team members for
And anytime y'all
participating.
need any other information, just give me a call. And if it's not me, I'll have other staff members that could come on and answer your questions.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you again, and we will get
Thank
that
you. And
information
y'all
to
have a
you.
great evening.
You as well.
All right. And Mr. Mack, make sure you go to that FLC list. That'll be a good opportunity to get some decent property for your nonprofit.
I'm already there.
All right. And you see where the tax map numbers are listed.
Yes, sir.
All you have to do is do copy on the tax map number, and then go to the GIS system, and then paste that tax map number in the GIS system, and it'll take you right to that parcel highlighted, and then all the information about the parcel is there, and the values and all of that.
I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.